so I can pour back into the team and be the leader that I really need and want to be.
Absolutely. You are so speaking my language.
The joy and the energy that these kids live by.
It's the excitement that your products bring to people who have them. My guest today is Rebecca Cohn, the general manager for Jordan Sport across North America. In her role, she is leading the growth of a Jordan brand in global sports like basketball, golf, football, and baseball. Rebecca's journey has been anything but linear. She started her career on Wall Street, like me, in investment banking, before making the leap into consumer products and eventually into leadership at Nike. Along the way, she has built and led global teams, navigated transformation, and developed a reputation for combining sharp strategy with a people-first approach. What I love about Rebecca's story is how her background as a former college basketball player at Trinity College in Connecticut, where my husband Craig also played basketball, how she shows up. She leads with resilience, versatility, and a deep commitment to teamwork and curiosity. Let's dive in. Rebecca, welcome. And I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Erin. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Okay. Well, you have a really cool job. I interview doctors and scientists and psychologists and musicians and coaches, all kinds of different people. And you're my first executive at Nike. So I'm super pumped about that. We are a very athletic family. Obviously, you and Craig have met and know that you've got basketball in your backgrounds and both at the same college. If you were to give us a snapshot of your professional journey, but also your personal journey, where would you start and walk us through it?
Yeah, well, I love that question because it always starts with sport for me. And I know we have that shared connection, and your husband and I have that shared connection. Basketball was one of my first loves growing up. I actually played every sport growing up. I played soccer, I played volleyball, tennis, you name it. But basketball is really what stuck with me. And I think as a young kid growing up, sports were my outlet for a lot of anxiety that I had and just kind of pent up energy. And I think, they're a way to build community. So I learned a lot of lessons through sport at a really young age. And it's been amazing. And, I'll come full circle to my role and career now, but it's been amazing to be able to apply some of those learnings forward in everything that I do today in my career. As you said, my journey took me to Trinity College in Connecticut. So I was born and raised on the West Coast in San Francisco, went back east for school, wanted to try something a little bit different. I played 4 years of basketball there. It was an unbelievable experience. I studied economics, and I knew I was always kind of interested in doing something in the business world. And so I landed my first role out of school on Wall Street, as you said, at Credit Suisse as an investment banking analyst. And it was probably like 4 years of work experience jammed into two. Everything you hear about banking and more is true.
I always say that it's like getting a real life MBA if you've worked in investment banking.
Totally. It was, life lessons, professional lessons, all the things. But I was 22 years old, fresh out of school, and that was a really pivotal kind of learning experience for me in a lot of ways. I took so much away from that, positive and negative, as I do with most experiences, as we all do. But I took that forward to my journey, which then led me back to San Francisco, where I grew up, to work for Old Navy for a couple of years in their corporate headquarters, doing corporate finance. And that was sort of my first foray into the retail space. And then I later made my way up to Nike. I actually, I landed my role at Nike through a LinkedIn message, which was totally unexpected. I was not looking to leave San Francisco at the time, but I had never been to Portland, and I kind of took a risk. I obviously, growing up playing sports, having that been such a pivotal part of my life, Nike's a brand that I've always admired in so many ways. And I honestly, moving up to Portland, I was 26, 27 years old, and I thought it would be like a 2-year, 3-year stop. And I've now been here 9 years, which is kind of wild to think about. I've really settled down in a lot of ways in Portland, Oregon. It's a beautiful place. But I have sort of blossomed in my career here, and it's been such a wonderful journey. I started in finance, which was what my background was in. I worked on the Nike side for several years and had roles across finance, strategy, operations. And then most recently, I've been working in general management as the general manager of our Jordan Sport business within North America. And so I feel so lucky every day that I get to represent such an incredible brand, a brand that I grew up. I mean, Michael Jordan is the GOAT, right? He's
Oh,
iconic.
yeah.
The brand is iconic. And so to be able to really give that, that story to young kids and give them inspiration every day feels really, really special.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's so special. And basketball is it's such a neat sport. I mean, we are obviously biased in our love of the sport, but like I grew up playing basketball and I always really loved the game. I wasn't all that great at it, so it was not something I was going to do in college. I actually danced in high school, so I performed at halftime. Uh,
Love
And
that.
I got to ride on the bus with the guys team and keep stats. So that was kind of fun too. But now I'm raising two boys, right? 10 and 11-year-olds at this point who are very, very skilled at basketball already. And I just look forward to them growing in their journey. And oh man, there are lots of Jordan things going on around my house. There's Air Force Ones actually on my Christmas list already from my 9-year-old. He's almost 10. I've got to figure out all of the different gear I'm buying for birthdays and for Christmas in the next few months. So that's going to be lots of fun. Now, what's your favorite NBA team?
Oh, gotta go with my home team, Golden State Warriors. We had a
Yeah.
good run. It's been a little rocky the last few years, but
Yes.
I'm a Warriors girl through and through.
Yeah. So, you know what's really funny? So I went to SLU for college, St.
Uh-huh.
Louis University, and um, my oldest son really likes the Celtics and he really likes Jason Tatum.
Mhm.
And of course, Craig has some roots to Boston as well. And so we're fans of a lot of different teams. We really enjoy the whole league. But, I said, gosh, this is when you're definitely getting old, as when you can say you went to college with Jason Tatum's dad, because I did. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, that's
there's,
amazing.
I
I
know, I'm like,
didn't
there's
even get he's
nothing.
like a 25, 26-year-old kid,
I
and
know.
he
Yes.
carries
His dad
himself
was like
like
a
a
fifth year
grown man.
senior.
And yeah, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
He was like a
That's
fifth year
so funny.
senior, I think, when I was a freshman. But I'm like, that is just too funny. Too funny.
I love
Okay.
that.
Well, going back into our conversation, I know we could talk basketball all day.
We sure
But I
could.
am curious from your perspective. I mean, when it comes to leadership, how much has your own mindset and self leadership, the way you show up for you, really impacted the way that you're showing up in your professional life and at work?
Yeah, it's impacted it tremendously. And I'd also say it's evolved tremendously. I think, early in my career, and also coming from a sports background, I've had the mindset forever and ever, and I still do in many ways, of just grind, just keep going, never let up, foot on the gas, always roll up your sleeves and work hard. And I still carry all of those traits, do not get me wrong. But I've also realized and acknowledged over time that there are moments when I need to kind of come up for a breath of fresh air and take that time for me. And I think that in and of itself has allowed me to show up as a better leader every day. I've throughout my career moved from individual contributor roles to having a team, and it's different. There's a big difference, right? When you have to show up not just for yourself and for the work, but for other people. And so I think being able to have those moments where I can step back and recognize, hey, I got to take a break right now, or I need to figure out, what I need and how to pour into myself. And a lot of that has been a self-awareness journey as well. Therapy is a great tool for all of those out there who do, or maybe don't do therapy. But yeah, I think just being able to have that self-awareness and understand what I need so I can pour back into the team and be the leader that I really need and want to be has been critical.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I was talking to my creative director recently. She's been with me for over 7 years. Even before my business existed, she was working with me on some different creative projects just on the side. And she said to me, Erin, there's this quality about you that is just so unique. She said, you don't take no for an answer, but you do it with such grace. And I
Mhm.
said, well, let's talk about that for a second. And I said, can you describe like a little bit more to me? And because I was just curious, how does it actually show up when I'm leading a project or we're working on something together? And what she said is it's almost like you're always creating diamonds, like you're applying pressure, but you're doing so in such a graceful way.
I love.
And what allowed me to see is that, I keep people accountable and I have high expectations of everyone, myself included. And so I don't expect anything from anyone that I'm not giving first.
Totally.
And most importantly, in that regard, with what you just said, I'm giving to myself first, because if I'm not giving myself grace and if I'm not fulfilling myself on a daily basis, no one can meet my needs. No one can understand my expectations. So it's up to me to be very clear, right? And have a clear mindset so that other people are experiencing that energetically from me, right? My words, my demeanor, the way that I treat them.
Totally.
So I resonate so much with what you shared there. Now, when you define success in your current role and in your life in general, so not even just work, but what does overall success look and feel like for you today?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I try and create a little bit of a separation between my personal life and my professional life. It doesn't always happen, right? But I think when I think first about my professional life, there's all kinds of business metrics we could use to measure success. And is the business doing well? Are we growing? And those are all very important, right? Especially as a publicly traded company, we're held accountable for that. But at the end of the day, I think what success means for me from a professional standpoint is really seeing like the look on that kid's face when they open that box of shoes, or when they hit the winning shot, or when they, make the team, whatever it is. And I had the opportunity actually a few weeks ago to go to New York. We had a global basketball tournament. It was a one-on-one tournament. We brought kids from all over the world, from, many cities around the world, to play in this one-on-one tournament. And like, these are kids ages 14 to 18. They are learning, developing, growing, building their own confidence. But it's like, just to see the joy and the energy that these kids live by, like, for me, that's what makes work and this job, and therefore life, honestly, so fulfilling in so many ways. I think it's really, and it reminds me of myself as a young kid, in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, which is part of why this job is so special for me, is because it feels like I can connect back to, that kid and who I once was, um,
Right.
in the game, right?
Yeah.
And then I think in life, like, for me, it's really a matter of the quality of the relationships in my life, the quality of my own mental well-being. I have shifted, I would say, over the years to someone who really I used to kind of think of myself as an extrovert. I'd say I'm more of a extroverted introvert now, if that's a thing. So
Yeah.
I get my energy by kind of recharging by myself and not talking to anyone and going for long walks and all of that. So I think
Right.
when I feel kind of most at ease in my own mind and in my own kind of relationships, is when I feel most successful, so to speak.
Absolutely. You are so speaking my language. And I know we already know between our chat that we had a while ago that there's so much commonality in the way that we approach things. And I love how you defined success in business being about those children and, their excitement. And whether it's the ones that got to play this one-on-one game, or it's just the kid who's got a new pair of shoes that were either gifted or bought for them, or, maybe it was, I mean, I've even seen some NBA players handing out like shoes at basketball games. Like, it's just so neat when people have something that's new and so meaningful. And then that's where you're deriving your why. And I talk about purpose and meaning with a lot of clients at times. And I want to just give this clarity to my listeners, because a lot of times we think about purpose as something that we have to find. Like, what is it? I need to find it. I need to figure out what work to do to actually like understand my purpose. Purpose is about service. How do you serve humanity? And you could derive that from your work, but it also could be from how you show up in your community or at your church or a million places in a volunteer organization. So it's all about how are you serving and where do you choose to apply that attention and that energy, right? Meaning, on the other hand, is about how does whatever that is serve you. So when you think about your work, how does it serve you? Well, that meaning for you, you described so beautifully. It's the excitement and the joy that your products bring to people who have them. So that was so beautifully stated.
Yeah.
On a flip side, what tends to really drain your energy? Like what depletes you and just brings you off center?
Yeah. Well, the reality is I've worked my whole career, since graduating in big corporate environments. And with that comes heavy politics, and it comes some, relentless weeks where you're working nonstop and all you feel like you're doing is eating, sleeping, and working. And, I think at times it can be the relentlessness of that caliber of work. As I said, I'm very cognizant now of when that is getting to me, right, and affecting me in a way that means I'm not showing up well. And so I'm much more self-aware of it now. But I think, yeah, it's having those weeks that feel relentless and feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and that there's no clarity, right? So I would say those are the big things that drain me. Along with, I'm sure, many can relate to this, like office politics are very much a thing in the place that I work and in many big corporations. And so and I've had a lot of experience navigating that, but I think those are the kinds of things that I have had to learn to let a lot go, because if you react to every single thing that happens, ultimately you're only hurting yourself, right? So again, I've learned to navigate a lot of it, but don't get me wrong, it's still present.
Yeah, and it's a daily navigation, right? It's choosing in the moment what you're either giving attention to and you're fueling, or you are choosing to let go. And in this context of our conversation and the role that you're describing, I mean, we have choice. You know, you and I are both people who have choice in what we fuel, where we give energy, and what we don't. I did a talk recently, and I gave people, it was female leadership. And I said to them, I'm going to leave you with these 3 points. Be careful what you hold on to, and then also where you choose to let go. So letting go of people pleasing tendencies, letting go of the need to control or the need to prove yourself or always be right. Saying no, like you don't always have to say yes to everything, especially not out of obligation, because it's going to drain you at some point. And then speak up. Like if you don't feel like you're using your voice, that's no one's fault but yours, right? You have to choose to speak up, which takes courage. And so those are 3 points I wanted to leave people with as well. Now, when you think about, you explained that you're extroverted but introverted. I'm the same way. I need a lot of time to fill myself back up before I can keep giving.
Mm-hmm.
What are your tools? I mean, and you talked a little bit about therapy for self-awareness, which is really important. What are some of the tools that you're enacting in your daily life or even just weekly life? What are some of these rituals that you practice that really help recenter you and reset you?
Yeah. Well, I have so many, and I love that you use the word ritual. I actually was thinking a lot about that after we had one of our first conversations, because, and I know kind of the way that you think about it is a routine is something that you're doing mindlessly, right? And so it's actually not something that is allowing you to really kind of refill yourself. I like the word ritual because these aren't things necessarily that I have time to do every single day, but they're very little things that I can incorporate along the way. And I can do one a day, or I can do one for 5 minutes, and it makes a difference. So the big things for me, I'd say number one always has been exercise. Like for me, that is my go-to. I get so much out of it, just the way that it it brings me joy, but it also gives me energy. It's just something that I practice daily, truly. And sometimes I do it for 20 minutes if that's all the time that I have, right? But I think just getting that sweat for me is something I know that I need to be able to be at my best. There's also little things. I got a dog in COVID, like many other people. And so that has allowed me, forced me, but also allowed me, and I love it, to do daily walks. I do at least 2 walks a day with him, if not more. In the summertime here, I live right by Forest Park, which is one of the biggest urban parks in the world. So I'll go in there, I'll leave my phone at home, and we'll go for a nice long walk. And just be able to be in nature. So that's something that's big for me. I also, another COVID habit, I picked up crossword puzzles. So I'm a big New York Times mini crosswords girl. I have like a stack of books at home that has them in them. So I'll just pick those up even before bed as a way to kind of divert my attention from my phone to something that I feel like I'm using my brain for. So
Right.
I have a lot of little things, drinking my coffee in the morning. I know that's one for a lot of people that's meaningful, but again, like these aren't necessarily things that I do every single day. I mean, the walks by nature, I have to because of my dog, but also, I don't always have the ability to leave my phone at home. But when I do, it's really meaningful. So those are the kinds of things that I find my sort of escape or recharge in, if you will.
Beautiful. And I feel like you just did a plug for my book right there, Rebecca. We didn't talk about that, but thank you.
You did.
And yeah, you're so right because, rituals are flexible and they evolve with you as you evolve on a daily basis, weekly basis, yearly basis. It doesn't matter. We don't have to do them. We don't have to check the box, but we choose them when we know we want to and when we know we need them. And they're going to give us value. They're going to fuel us. They're going to fulfill us. They're going to add and amplify energy, not take it away. And so therefore that's where the word ritual is derived. It's about amplification, right? And it's about choice. So thank you for beautifully describing that.
Of course.
So before we get to my last question, I wanted to ask you if you can tell people where is best to find you and learn more about you.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to add me there. And I'm happy to connect with listeners anytime. I always love talking to people, especially people who are younger in their career and kind of trying to figure it out because, I've had a journey myself and I've had moments of questioning things. And, I love to talk to young people. I love to talk to everyone, but especially young people because, I think there's something that I can offer. So LinkedIn is the best way to find me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that whole pay it forward, right? Mentorship is so important. So last question of our conversation is if you had, let's just call it one truth. What is one truth that you would love to leave with people about time or energy or intention?
One truth. I think, time it's not endless, right? And it's something that we don't have all the time in the world for everything. And time is a limited resource. And so choose your time wisely is what I would say. Set your boundaries so that you can make sure that you are filling yourself up as much as you're filling other people up. And as a result of that, your relationships, your work, everything that you put forward and put out into the world will just be that much better. So that's what I would say.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here today. This has been such a great conversation.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Erin. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And everyone, you know what to do. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a review or a rating. It's always helpful to expand this to more and more audiences. And to get the book, you can go on my website, icanfitthatin.com, or you can get it on the retail sites. And until next time, let's all be well.